Welcome again to Act On Presents Debunked Level 2, the game show where we put marketing myths to the test. If you're just joining us, I am your host, Matt Saylor. I'm Senior Content Marketing Manager at Act On. And with me, again, is Jana Mistry, Director of Brand and Content Marketing at Litmus. We also have some wonderful contestants today joining us. As we wait for everyone, all the rest of the participants to log in, I see those numbers going up already. Let's talk a little bit about how to play today's game. So, we have taken popular myths or conventional wisdoms in email marketing, and we've used A/B testing to separate the truth from the myths. And today we're going to share those results with you. But wait, there's more. Our panel of contestants, all email marketing experts in their own right, will guess the results of each test live with you. We'll also have a debrief for each question where we'll discuss the results with our expert panel. The winner of those contestants will be crowned Debunk'd champion, which I think we can all agree is the accomplishment we've all been looking for our entire careers. So good luck to everyone. Those of you playing along at home will also be answering live. There'll be live polls coming up for each test, so you'll get a chance to guess what the result was. And check your inbox after the show because one of our at-home participants will also be winning the grand prize. But you have to check your email from the post-show to get that information. That's how we get you. All right. A little bit of the fine print here. Act On and Litmus teamed up to run A/B testing on marketing email sends to our existing lists. We are using engagement metrics for the winners here. So that is usually either click to open rate or click-through rate. We're not using pure open rates. And we consider a myth debunked if there is a statistically significant, a stat sig, as I've just learned you can call it, difference in the results, or the second way is that if a myth says there should be a clear winner, no winner would also result in a debunked. So either a clear winner either way, or a no winner situation when the myth predicts that there will be a clear winner, both of those would be considered a debunked. If it's not debunked, it's approved, which sounds good, but is actually really sad. We're really unhappy when that happens. We really want to debunk things, not approve things. And of course, these results are based on our tests of emails sent to our marketing audiences, which may not be representative of the demographic and firmographic makeup of your own. Results may vary. Do try this at home. That's the big learning today, is use this as inspiration for your own tests. And we hope we give you some ideas today. Now, without further ado, let's introduce you to your hosts and contestants. I'm Matt Saylor. I'm Senior Content Marketing Manager at Act On, and I've got over a decade of experience in content marketing. That's the gray temples showing through there, buttressed by minor careers in B2B journalism and creative writing. But more importantly, I'm a game show fiend. I consider Richard Dawson my long-lost father and Alex Trebek my patron saint. Debunk'd, I should say, is the brainchild of Kelsey Yen, who's here today as one of our contestants, and myself. And with me, as I mentioned, is my co-host, Jana Mistry of Litmus. Jana, I understand you're the chief apple pie maker at Litmus. Is that correct?
I wish I could say that was my official title, but according to my husband, yes, I do make a pretty awesome apple pie. My name's Jana Mistry, like Matt said. I'm the Director of Brand and Content Marketing over at Litmus, where I lead a really incredible team of content marketers and designers. We're really focused on boosting brand awareness and creating really awesome content that connects with our audience. I'm really passionate about creating content that connects with the human beings on the other end of it. And I am an email geek with over 15 years of email experience. So this kind of debunked makes me, I'm very, very happy to be here and be a part of this. So thank you, Matt, for the invite. And yeah, while I'm not diving into all things marketing, like I said, apple pie is definitely on my list of things to do, but I'm also trying to work my way through a 54,000 stitch cross stitch design. I've been at it for over a year, and maybe if we do this debunked in another year, I'll be another 25% of the way through it, but we'll see about that.
We'll want you to share that cross stitch with us, please. Please share those results.
I will.
All right. Chelsea Cruz of Station Casinos, welcome. Tell us a bit about you and Station.
Hello. I've been with Stations for about a year now, but I've been doing email marketing for 4 years and marketing in general for 15 years. I actually started out in the live entertainment industry, so it was a pretty fun transition going from live entertainment to more housed entertainment, as I call it, for what the casinos have to offer. But yeah, I love it a lot here. I specialize in branding, project management, advertising, editing, everything under the sun.
Wonderful. And as the gaming experts, we'll expect you to run away with today's victory, I think. Sean Lanier of Station Casinos, you're teaming up with Chelsea today. Who's the better marketer, you or her?
Ooh, I think we both bring strengths. I'm have
Sure.
more of a design background, as I started my career with web design and graphic
Mhm.
design, and then moved into email marketing. And I think between her marketing skills, bringing her in a year ago, and in my transition into email marketing
Mhm.
when I got to stations here, I think we've helped align and come up with some new and exciting ideas on how to promote email marketing for stations.
Mhm. Very good.
Fantastic. Kelsey N, set the record straight, please. You invented Debunk'd and I stole it from you violently. Is that correct? Kelsey,
That is
you
correct.
did it.
That is exactly how I would have phrased it. So yes, violently stolen.
Wonderful. Tell us about yourself, please.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kelsey Yen. I'm joined here with Logan. We're here from Be Free, which is a no-code drag and drop email and landing page and pop-up editor. Um, I have over 8 years of email geek experience, and we all know I love Debunk'd because I created it originally, and so I'm ready to, reclaim my title.
All right. And you're with Logan Baird today. Logan, who would win in an arm wrestling match, you or Kelsey?
Oh, I think easily Kelsey because she has a little one and she has like one really strong arm. So I guess
Oh,
it would depend on which arm I'm arm wrestling, but one arm really jacked.
amazing. Tell us a
Hmm
little about yourself, Logan.
Sure. Yeah. Hello, gentles. Thank you for the warm welcome, Mr. Saylor. I'm Logan Baird. I'm the senior community evangelist for Be Free. And yeah, I've got over 13 years of experience in all of this delightful email geekery. I had the delightful experience of getting to work with Jana at Litmus and spent the majority of my career doing email professional services at Marigold with like the Emma and Campaign Monitor and Sail Through brands. And just very excited to be here with my team captain, Kelsey, which is how I'm going to be referring to her moving forward.
Wonderful. Welcome, welcome. And last but certainly not least, Gene Jennings. So happy to have you here. Really active voice in the email marketing community. Are you going to sweep the questions today and win?
Gosh, I'm a little worried. I'm afraid that if I don't, I might have to like change my name, change my occupation, and move to another country. So here's hoping
Witness
I don't
protection.
totally bomb today, because Lord knows. But yeah, thank you. I'm so excited to be here. First of all, thank you, Acton. Thank you, Litmus, for inviting me. I have been definitely an email geek through and through. Been focused on email marketing for more than 20 years now, kind of a long time. I have my own boutique consultancy, email optimization shop. So I work with medium to enterprise size clients. We do a lot of A/B split testing at EOS to help them improve the bottom line performance of their email. So really looking forward to testing my skill here. And then on a side note, I'm an adjunct professor at Georgetown University, which is one of my alma maters. And I run Only Influencers, which is the original community of email industry professionals. And I'm programming chair of the Email Innovations World Conference, which happens in June 2025 in Phoenix. And when I'm not doing all of that in my spare time, I'm also one for the needles. So I do kind of cross stitch like Jana. We've talked about this. I also knit and crochet, and I bake. And I'm a huge Washington Capitals fan. You can't see it, but my office is filled with hockey stuff. So thanks for inviting me. I'm happy to be here. Let's
Yeah,
play.
welcome.
Let's get
Let's
competitive.
do it, shall we? I'm glad that the job of host of Debunked is not available. You have plenty of jobs already. Please don't take mine. Now, without any further ado, let's get into the myths, shall we? Myth one, you should personalize B2B emails by company name. Now, the idea here, the myth, is that personalization leads to engagement. I think we all think that's generally true, but in B2B, we don't really see our own name as important as the name of the company. At least that's the myth. Jana, have you heard this one?
I have heard this one, especially because I think first name personalization has sort of become the norm, whether you're in B2B, B2C. It's kind of become a little bit blasé that you sort of ignore it. And B2B marketers are always searching for other relevant pieces of data to personalize their emails, and company name seems like a really good bet there. But just to play devil's advocate, even if we're in B2B, we're still marketing to other human beings. So should we really be speaking to the company or the person? I wonder about that.
A good question. And so we tested it. This was an act-on test. In this test, we sent to our largest list of prospects, very large list, and we tested first name personalization, something like "Hello, Jana," against company personalization, new marketing automation for Litmus. Those are examples. That's not actually what we said. Audience, you should see a live poll coming up soon to predict the winner. Which type of personalization leads to more engagement? Do you think it's going to have been first name personalization or employer company personalization, or will there be no difference? As those results come in, let's see what our contestants think. Kelsey and Logan at Be Free. How's it going to go?
Team Captain Kelsey, what is our vote?
I think it's going to be true. I think company name is gonna hold strong.
Okay. Jean, what do you think?
You know, I've done a lot of testing. I'm sorry, let me just give you the answer. I don't think there's going to be any difference.
Okay. All right, Station Casinos team. What's your prediction?
I think it's going to be a close call, but we're going to go with company name.
Okay. That poll is wrapping up. Let's share those results. Okay, it looks like we think personalization by first name is going to lead to more engagement. Company name. Let's dig in a little bit into the test. So we started with personalization, a hot topic in email marketing, to be sure. We did see a modest but significant improvement when we used the company as the personalization factor, as opposed to the name. So 3.7% click to open rate for first name personalization versus 4.8% click to open rate for company personalization. And you're seeing those results come up from the audience. I'm gonna stop that share, sorry. Whoops. Jana, what are your thoughts on this one? Why do you think it turned out this way?
I think it's super interesting. I think B2B marketers are so used to, like I said, they're so used to seeing their first name used in personalization across subject lines or in their emails or in the content themselves. So when there's something else that's referenced there that's relevant to them, it's like, oh, what is this? It's kind of like a little bit of a magpie shiny object syndrome. It's like, oh, this is something new. So they kind of engage and react to it because company name isn't typically used to personalize emails. So when it's used effectively, I think it can have a really good effect. But what it's going to be interesting to see is if it has like longevity. If you always use company name to personalize your emails, is it still going to have the same effect? But I think you do need to make sure you've got your data in order to be able to use company name, because data is hard. And if you use the wrong company name in there, oof, it's going to be a doozy of an email in the worst possible way.
All right. So it's approved. It's not debunked. As I said, we get really sad about myths being approved here. So we do want to use company names to personalize. Panel, let's dig in a little deeper here. Is this surprising to you that this is the way our test came out?
Not particularly. I think Kelsey and I were discussing this, and Kelsey, you had a take on this that was pretty similar to I think what Jana had just expressed, but I'll let you articulate it.
Yeah, pretty much the same kind of what you said, Jada, where it's like a lot of times we see our first name everywhere, where it's a little bit more surprising and interesting to be like, oh, someone's talking to my company, like what's going on? And it's almost like that shock factor. But again, to your point that you said, there is a time where if you use it over and over and over, that shock kind of wears off as well. So I think like anything outside of the norm, so maybe like company name or even job title or industry and things like that, something that's like a little bit different does spark an interest, more so than just, hey Kelsey, like everybody says that. So it's less exciting.
There's a
Okay,
great
any other-
question in the chat about whether it was subject line or body that was personalized with the company name. Does anybody know the answer to that? Because I think that's an important question.
That is an excellent question. It is subject line. My producer Ryan is telling me it was subject line that we tested for that one.
And see, I really like that because I don't know about you all. I am so over seeing my first name in a subject line. It almost just screams to me they don't actually know me. They're trying to pretend like they do. But I can actually see how having the company name in the subject line would not be like that. It would be more thoughtful. It would make you feel like they'd done some research. So I'm coming around to that answer.
Okay, some interesting thoughts here, but we have to move on. So let's do that. Time for myth number 2. This one goes beyond B2B, really. The myth is that we're more likely to engage with content with a name and a face. I've definitely seen this said in email marketing, and I've even seen it, in social media. They say like people pause in the feed more often when they see a face as opposed to, something else in the image. And so the myth is, when we see a name and a face in any kind of a message, we are more likely to engage. Jana, what do you expect to see here?
I think we're likely to see better engagement with a name and a face attached versus just a faceless brand. And I think kind of goes back to what you just said about social media too. There is that trend in social media right now where I'm guilty of it, but people are more likely to engage with people's, that's a word, people rather than brands, because they want to hear from the people behind the brands. They don't want to hear from the brands themselves. And I think this like rise in influencer marketing and hearing from actual people translates across to B2B marketing as well, translates to email marketing. So I think we'd like to see, I think the name and face is going to be give some better engagement there.
All right. Well, audience, that second poll question should be coming up, and you'll be able to predict. Our audience is more likely to engage with content that has a name and face. Yes, no, and there will be no difference are the 3 options. Let's go to our contestants. Let's start with the Station Casinos team. What do you expect to see here, Sean and Chelsea?
Yeah, I'm going to go with photo and name is going to be more successful.
Okay.
It reminds us of the host emails that we send out. We've noticed a lot of progress with that when we add their photo at the bottom of it instead of just their name.
Yeah, interesting. Jean, what do you think?
I'm going to agree with Chelsea and Sean. Photo
Okay.
and name.
All right, Be Free team.
Team Captain Kelsey, what is our answer?
I agree. We agree. Photo name.
Yeah.
Okay. Get your votes in, everyone. Got 39 of the 50 of you have responded. Okay. The audience says that the photo and name will engage more. So let's see what the result was. Whoops. There was no winner in this particular test. This was a litmus test. So Jana, I'll let you talk through kind of the methodology here and what you found.
Yeah, this was a test that we'd actually did across a few different types of emails. So we got some different results and they all sort of pointed in us in weird directions, let's say that. So when we tested it in our cart abandonment flow, so a series of emails we send after someone attempts to sign up but doesn't complete that sign up, signups were signups was the actual like measurement that we were looking to successful. And when we use that as a success point, we did see signups actually improve when we used the personal touch, when we had that name and face involved in there. But when we used that as a success point to then shift another email in the series to be more personal, it didn't work. And I think our theory was that other email included a discount in it. So it made us wonder whether the discount acted as a bit too much of like a marketing-y sort of play. And when combined with the personal touch, it just came off as not authentic, really. So I think there's a lot to do with the context of what the email is about and the content of it that has to align with that personal touch, with the name in the face. But on the other hand, when we use the name in the face approach, when we were sending through some emails to our customers after they'd actually successfully signed up for a trial, it increased our click-through rate. So they're like hand-holding users through the process by using a name and face was really successful. Using it combined with discounts, less successful. So it really does depend on the context and the content of your emails.
Okay. Very
I would
interesting.
totally agree with that. I've done emails where we're representing a sales team and it's a generic message, but we want to make it looks like it came from their rep. And there I find that it works very well. But I totally agree with Jane. It really depends on the context and you've got to test it and see what works with your audience.
And based on our test, we're going to call this one Debunk'd. Panel. Station Casinos team, you mentioned you've tested this and had some results. So I'd love to hear a little bit about that, what you've seen with your tests.
Yeah, so with our host emails, so the casino hosts, a lot of their emails come through our department. And so we either have ones that just have their name and information on the bottom and that's it, or if they have a headshot, we put their headshot on there. And it's just an extra way too to try to get more clicks. So that way we can actually kind of monitor like how many of these people are engaging with the host emails. And at least from the feedback we've got, that having their photo on the bottom of it has, definitely helped a lot. But we are in a very unique situation, I feel, because people in the casino industry, they might remember that they had like, oh, the host when I went to visit. So when they see their face, they're like, oh my gosh, yes, I really liked Richard, or, whoever it might be. So there might be like outside factors that are playing a role in why it's helping, not necessarily just because there's a photo, but it's triggering the memory maybe.
Yeah, very interesting. Kelsey or Logan, anything to add with this one?
First I wondered, Jaina, if maybe that test failed because my face was on that particular email.
The Logan factor. Oh no.
Yeah. It's a little bit rogue. It's a little bit rogue. No, I think the point that you made around like that when combining it with kind of a discount, the context in which we experience, kind of human faces matters a lot. And so whether what is being asked of people is like when we're making use of it, it's like, are we using it as kind of a nurturing presence, as someone to engage with, or are we using it to sell? And what it sounds like, at least from the results that you found, is like trying to use it to sell was not as effective as just trying to help nurture people through an onboarding sequence where you need a friend, where all of us need a friend. Kelsey, any additional?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. That's exactly right. Like knowing when and where to use it, I think is going to help you get the best results for sure.
Important to have a friend. That's why I organized this entire webinar, just so I could pretend to have friends. Thanks everybody for helping me with that. Now, on to myth number 3. Photography gets more engagement than illustration. It's a very interesting one. This was an act-on test. So we took another angle at sort of that same issue of photo that we did last time. Last question was more specific to signatures and photos of people. Here we looked at the email as a whole and compared photography to illustration in the body of the email. Jaina, really curious to hear what you think about this one.
I'm really interested as well. I think it'll really depend on what your brand's branding is about. So for example, at Litmus, we lean very, very heavily into illustrations and we'll occasionally use photography to some degree. But on the flip side, I think one of the challenges with using photography is more often than not, especially in B2B, like you're stuck with using stock photography, and making your emails stand out with stock photography can be incredibly challenging, especially if everyone's using the same stock photos or everyone's using that same picture of that same person looking at their mobile phone or looking at their laptop and pointing at it, as we talked about. But yeah, I think this is going to be, I'm very curious about this one to see whether there is any difference at all.
Stock photo pose. Okay, audience, your next poll should be coming up. Which type of visual leads to more engagement? Is it illustrated content? Is it photographic content? Or will there be really no difference? As we wait for those to come in, Jean, let's start with you this time. What do you think it's going to be?
Tough one, but I think there's not going to be a difference.
Okay. Logan and Kelsey at Be Free. What do you think?
Man, I'm gonna say a Jana-ism and be like, it depends.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna say no difference because I think it really does depend.
Yes, we're in agreement. No, I think there'll be no difference here.
And station casinos, what's your prediction?
Yeah, we think it's gonna be no difference as well.
Okay. We're thinking no difference. Audience, get your answers in. A few more of you have an opportunity to answer if you like. Looks like no difference is trending as the winner.
The first
We'll
poll, it feels very split
wait with
across
bated
the
breath.
three.
Yeah, we're getting some really split results here with 70% of you participating. 32 said illustrated content, 24 said photographic, 45% said there will be no difference, which seemed to be the consensus on our panel as well. Let's find out. Photography won. This is a very interesting one. As I said, I mean, I find it really interesting. Acton did the test, and I'll give you a little bit of background on this, which is that we had a pretty illustration heavy brand as up to and as of about a year and a half ago, I think, at which point we took a pretty big shift into more of a photographic style. And so we have seen very good results from that, but I think that context is important, kind of in the bigger context of our brand and where we're at and the changes we've been making. And so in the example there, you see one of our illustrations where we had these cartoon characters that used to be a big part of our brand. They're still in our product in a few other places, but we've kind of focused less on them and more on photography. And as you see here, the results in our tests were really compelling. We had a 9.26% click-through rate for photographic visuals. We had a 1% click-through rate for when it was illustration. And then the click-to-open rate is really where it was just like a blowout. So 31.3% click-to-open rate for photographic visuals versus 3.2% click-to-open rate for illustration visuals. Really interesting here. I would love to hear the audience's, sorry, the panelists' opinions, but first, this one's approved. Read them and weep. Sorry, folks. Panelists, I think as I said, I think the brand context for us at Acton is really important to this one, but still interested to hear, since a lot of you said there wouldn't be a difference, what your reaction is.
When I think about the purpose that either illustration or photography serves within an email, right? It's in order to, since we process images and language in kind of in different ways in our brains, it's there to kind of make people pause, right? Like to make us pause on things. And but then now that we're talking about it, and I agree that the context absolutely matters, but photography, there is more of a chance of recognizing ourselves in it than an illustration, unless you've got a very interesting self-image. And so I would, in that sense, like I could see where that would make sense. But also, I've also seen generic stock photography overused a lot, and that can make it feel less personal, kind of more like someone's phoning it in, I think.
Interesting. Good thoughts. Gene, what did we get wrong here?
Well, there's an interesting question in the chat, which is whether they were the only change was photo versus illustration, or were they actually separate emails and content? Does anybody know?
That is a really good question. I'm looking over to my producer, and yeah, it was just that. It was just the visual asset
Those
itself.
are the only changes.
Yeah.
I think, and I don't test a lot of stuff like that.
Mm.
I'm a bottom line girl. I'm focused on the revenue and the conversions, and that's
Yep.
what I'm looking for, man. And so I don't know. I mean, I think it's an interesting test. I think the context matters a lot. And I think you should test it with your own audience, and it has an impact. Certainly you should do what's going to generate more. And it really varies. I mean, it might be that a more artistic audience would be more into the illustrations. There's so many aspects. I mean, I used to have to send to engineers, and engineers are very different than normal people. And I can say that because I used to be married to somebody who had a mechanical engineering degree undergrad and was then a lawyer. So very different. So a lot of it just depends on the audience, I think.
I think that's a really good point, and something we should point out about Act On that some of you probably clicked in on. We market to marketers. Marketers are our audience, and so our tests, they tend to be, they might go a little weird because marketers have a more sophisticated expectation. They may
Because
think
we're weird.
we're weird, right? Yeah, exactly. And so I think, even though we're coming out with the claim here, oh, we're debunking all this, this is now the truth. The real truth is that it's going to depend on your audience. It's going to depend on your brand. It's going to depend on what specifically you're testing. There's another big asterisk here that I want to add, which is that our photography kind of has a little bit of illustration in it. If you're familiar with our brand, go to our website, you'll see we kind of mix the two. So I think the purity of the test is a little, it could be called into question here. So I'll give that mea culpa. But thank you, panelists. Let's go on to our next myth. Time zero moves on. Interest signals. I think these are really cool, but there's a myth that they don't really move people to engage. Jaina, I know this was a litmus test. I'd love also for you to give us a little quick primer on interest signals and what those are if people aren't familiar with the term. I bet they've seen them, but they may not know that terminology.
Yes, they do go around with different names and guises, but essentially an interest signal is a way to indicate to whoever is reading the email how many people have already engaged with the email. So you as the marketer can see all those stats behind the scenes, how many people are clicking on different links. But this is actually a little feature or widget that you can add to your email that kind of shows a click counter. I'm kind of thinking back to the old GeoCities and Angel Fire days where you had a click counter on your website. Essentially, it's kind of similar to that. It's showing and indicating how many people have already engaged with it. And you can put it on products, you can put it on articles, like anything that is a click on your email can show your audience how many people are clicking on it. I think they're a wonderful way of generating a little bit of FOMO, like that fear of missing out. Like you've seen, oh my God, like 3,000 people have already clicked on this. I'm missing out by not engaging with this. I need to take action. So they could be a really good way of getting people to kind of take action, click, and get to your website.
Right, but there's a myth that they don't work. So let's see how we tested it. Audience, your next poll should be popping up for you there. Do interest signals lead audiences to engage more? So do those little clues about what others have liked make people wanna engage? Your choices are yes, no, and there will be no difference. Those are kind of always your choices. See the answers coming in. We've got about half of you, and yes is leading, with no and there will be no difference running up pretty far behind with about 13% and 16% of the vote. Get those responses in. What do we think, Jean?
Oh, I'm gonna say yes.
Okay. Chelsea and Sean at Station.
We're really torn on this one. Like personally, like for me, they don't work on me. I don't have a lot of trust in them. I think they're kind of just there. But I also know people who do really like them, and it kind of helps with like FOMO, like, oh, let me go ahead and grab this. Like, there's only like 50,000 people have already bought this, pair of pants or whatever. Or it could also help create like confidence in it, like, oh, I wasn't sure, but look, all these other people are buying tickets to this play, so they must like it, so I'm gonna get tickets too. I don't know. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think we might. Do you just want to split and go no
Oh yeah,
difference?
can we do that? Can we each have our own answer?
Good. Yeah, I think we can. I'm gonna
Okay.
call on the fly. We can do it.
I think no. I don't think it makes a difference.
So do you think that like it's not gonna affect the results, or do you think it's better without?
I don't think it's gonna affect the results.
Okay. Oh, I guess I'll just go with it will.
Okay. Logan and Kelsey at Be Free. What's your response?
Yeah, it's team captain.
I want to see it. I want to see a debunk. I want to see something get debunked. So let's say, yes, signals work.
Audience looks like yes is winning by a pretty wide margin. Let's see. With signals, yes, they worked. They worked. Jaina, break this one down for us, please.
Yes. So it's funny you mentioned like marketing to marketers at Acton. Like we do at Litmus, we do pretty much the same thing. And
Yep.
I was very skeptical. I was like, I'm a marketer. Like Chelsea said, I'm never going to fall for something like this. But I think it's like maybe it's the confidence level that interest signals sort of inspired, but we use interest signals across so many different types of emails, from newsletters, whenever we launch a report or an ebook or a webinar. And on them, we show them like how many email geeks have shown an interest in the piece of content or whatever it might be. And using these interest signals, we were able to increase our click-through rate by 4.5%, which is pretty damn awesome if I say so myself. But not the not just the click-through rate, it was the downloads too. So we increased downloads by 3.6%. So again, it's like it's not just impacting the initial email engagement, but it's also impacting things further down the funnel, which I think Jean will really like. And she's a bit of that bottom line revenue gal. So I feel like, again, like interest signals is great for engagement, so great for positive signals for the inboxes, but also great for the business too.
All right, so this myth, it's debunked, everybody. Panelists, whoops. Panelists, what are your reactions?
So I think listening to Jenna, and Matt, you all talking about like that the audiences that you're serving are kind of marketers. I also think also within kind of the email geek community, we're a community of people that learn from one another a lot and rely on one another for resources quite a bit. So I would think that that kind of pull towards downloading something that a whole bunch of other people have downloaded would be pretty strong, because we sort of rely on that metric for a lot of things when we're looking for resources. That's my particular thought. Any
Yeah.
other thoughts along those lines, Kelsey?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly like what you were saying. You know, it kind of instills like a sense of like trust. Like I can trust this because, you know, I'm a marketer, there's other marketers and they all want to see this. I want to see this. It's kind of like the same when you're buying something. If it has a ton of reviews, a ton of stars, like, you know, like, oh, I can trust that this is a, you know, a real product or like something that other people have had success with. So, you know, it's kind of a psychological hack, but, you know, I do feel like, I guess it also depends on like the number, right? Like if there's only like 3 or 5, like I feel like it can also backfire. But if it's like a really large number, I work.
I love Glenn's comment, social proof. And yeah, I
Wow.
think that's
Yeah.
it. I'm old enough to remember when they used to publish an article online and you could tell how many people had shared it via Twitter. And there were a bunch of us who were authors at ClickZ at that point, and that was an ongoing competition for who could get the most Twitter shares. And then Twitter decided they weren't going to let you do that anymore. So, and I love that it also increased downloads. Thank you, Jana, for letting me know that.
Yeah, that's really exciting. I'd love to hear from our split team at Station about this response.
Well, I'm definitely happy because I won, but yeah, I guess it kind of flipped me even in my personal, you know, like if I can now I trust them now.
So,
That was a little surprising. I mean, I guess, in the industry that we're in, we kind of don't, use this practice very often.
yeah.
And so I just had to take it off of personal experience. And I guess, being a marketer is something that doesn't really affect me too much when I'm interested in a product, but it's something I learned. I'm glad to learn. You can
You
always
never know,
learn.
you might have to try it now. All right. Moving on to myth 5. A few tests now on content labels. We have a couple of them. Now, in this case, it's a subject line. So the myth is that subject lines with content labels perform better. And specifically what we're talking about here is picture a subject line in your head, webinar in front of it, or video. We actually did test webinar. That's the one we did. But the myth is that if you put that little label on there, people are going to go, I love videos. I'm clicking on it. They're going to get so excited. And so, that's what the myth says. For a while, I saw this tip almost everywhere. I feel like they were saying this was one of the like low hanging fruit tips I saw in email marketing stuff. Jana, what do you think about this one?
I like labels. I think they're a great way to be very intentional with your subject lines. They're a great way for your audience to just get like the point across, right in the subject, being very transparent and very clear, Where I'm a little bit on the fence about them with is the fact that the label might put folks off from actually even opening your email in the first place if they see something there and it's like, oh, well, I'm not really interested in a webinar. I'm not really interested in a video. So I think you have to think about that. But then because you really want people who are going to open your email, who are going to actually engage with your email too. You want those like really high intent I'm saying people's an awful lot. Why am I saying people's? Apparently that's just the word of the day. But again, like I think it's one of those things where you have to kind of weigh out the kind of the short-term gains and the long-term wins with something like this. But yeah, I think they might work.
All right. Well, audience, you should see that poll popping up. And we're asking, are audiences more likely to engage with content that has a format label in the subject line? Yes, no, and there will be no difference are your options as usual. Jean, what do you predict with this one?
I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, with content label.
All right, with content label. Chelsea and Sean.
Yeah, we think it's going to make a difference.
Okay. Kelsey, Logan.
Kelsey, do we want to be contrarian here?
I don't know. I think, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. No.
No.
No content label.
Okay, get those answers in, audience. About 2/3 of you have done so. Yes is winning. Yes was pretty popular among our contestants, and it's also winning at 66% among all of you, with no and no difference trailing with a dozen% or so after that. Get those answers in. About 1/3 of you are being very shy here. I guess you don't want the prize. That's okay, but someone's going to get it. All right. Okay. So yes was definitely the winner here.
Oh,
I didn't mean to step on my amazing sound effect. Let's do it again. No winner for this one. This was another one. We did a huge test here. This was to our main prospect list. So that's 62,000 people. It's a lot of people. And there was no statistically significant change to the engagement metrics for this. So that's interesting. The click-through rates were effectively flat. Like I said, we tested webinar as the media label there. You can see an example of our email there on the right, what it probably looked like. And in the future, I think we'd like to test other A/B test other labels to see, does the type of content have an impact on this? So Jana's point earlier, I think it's really interesting. Webinar, you may have a preconceived notion. Do you like those? Do you not like those? I tend to not like them unless they're awesome like this one, but your mileage may vary. And maybe video, if it's more popular, would have performed better. So I think we're going to continue to try that. But I think either way, it's debunked, folks. Panelists, are you surprised?
I'm surprised. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like that's just being straightforward in the subject line with what you've got.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'm surprised. But again, worth testing at home. It doesn't mean it won't work for the people who are watching.
That's true. Chelsea and Sean?
We're definitely very surprised. I'm curious if it would make a difference versus like the actual subject line versus like the pre-header line. Like maybe one of them could be generic and then the other one could be a little bit of what it's about. But on your end for Act On, it shows that people don't care what the context is going to be. They just want to open it because it comes from you. So that's really good.
All right. Yeah. I mean, that's what happens when you make really good content is people just want it.
It is, I
A
know.
curse. It's a blessing and a curse. Kelsey.
Why we like you guys.
Kelsey and Logan, reactions.
Yeah, a little surprised, a little not surprised, I think. I've done a lot of this kinds of testing as well in my experience. I think anything that we could do to make the subject line stand out within the inbox, can help. So like, putting things in brackets, putting, all caps, things like that kind of helps it stand out. But to your point, if it's something that someone doesn't really want, like I don't need another ebook, right? Like I don't need another, this or that. So like it really depends on what that content you're emphasizing is or what that word is. I wonder if maybe if you said like game show, that might have done a little bit more. to move the needle. But I think the point here is just to do testing and test like different words to emphasize.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Webinar is an interesting one because I feel like in our industry, we're all like, oh yeah, webinars, totally. I mentioned to a friend outside of the industry that I was doing one. They were like, what's that? So, it could depend on your audience again, and the type of content you're testing. So interesting.
Mhm.
All right, let's move along to myth 6. Our friends at Litmus helped us out with some further tests here. They did use content labels, but in this case, it was content, I shouldn't say labels, it was content tags. So within their newsletters, as I understand it, Jana. So this really goes beyond the subject line and goes into those content tags that you'll see as you're scrolling through the email and looking at the various content links in there. Jana, give us a little more dimension to that. Help us understand.
Yes. So in our monthly newsletters and even in our weekly newsletters, we have a ton of different types of content. So we have everything from blog posts to ebooks to webinars to videos. So we wanted to help our readers, give them some guidance on what to expect before clicking through, in the hopes that giving them a little bit more context will make them want to click through even more, hopefully. And so, especially if they're just skimming the newsletter. I mean, we all know that people don't actually read an email word for word, but if they see a little snippet or something that is going to speak to them, that's what we're hoping these sort of labels would help people do, just like as they're skimming, oh, it's a video, I want to watch it.
Excellent. And I'm backing up to really good point in the chat from Parker Stoner, who said that they've done tests and video tends to perform really well, but in webinar does not. So they're kind of confirming for us that, it can depend on the type of the content that you're doing. So thank you, Parker. That's interesting. Now the next poll should be coming up. Round 2 of content labeling. Our audience is more likely to engage with content that has tags in the email body. So expanding beyond the subject line into the email body. Your options are yes, which is running away with it so far with 86%, no, and then there will be no difference. Let's start with Logan and Kelsey. What do you think the answer will be here, the result?
Oof,
I think we're
I
gonna.
don't know. Logan, what do you think?
I think content tags will perform better. That would be my prediction. Just maybe slightly better, but better.
All right, Jean, what do you think?
I'm going to agree with Logan.
Yeah. Okay, and Station Casinos, are we going to split this time or are we going to be aligned?
I think we're aligned.
Yeah, I think content tags
All
is
right.
going to perform better.
Get those responses in, audience. You got a few more seconds. About 2/3 of you have responded. And there's that third of you who just want to play it safe and just not be wrong. And I understand that. I'm not
They're
voting.
here for the vibes.
I just get to
They're here
host
for
and
the-
not, put
They're
a
here for the
statement
game
on.
show vibes. That's what they're here for.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
making
yeah.
lunch while this is happening.
Yeah, exactly. They're doing laundry. Okay. Looks like yes is definitely still leading this poll, or led this poll. It's now over. There was no winner. And Jana, as I understand this, you did several different tests here. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, we did this across both our weekly and our monthly newsletters, where we had, as you can see in the little screenshot there, a little indication of exactly what the content was, whether it was a recap, some product news, a blog post, and we saw literally no difference in engagement. So while we didn't see engagement improve, it didn't hurt either. But we're being more transparent about our content. So it's one of those things that we thought, hey, why not just keep it in there? Because it's not going to hurt our engagement. But yeah, it's very interesting. And I think, again, it kind of lines up to what we've already talked about. I think there's people, I'm going to toot our own horn here, but people love our content. So they're probably going to, if they've opened the, once they've opened the newsletter, they probably want to at least click on something. So I think having it in there, it doesn't really help or hurt, but it just adds a bit more context.
Yeah, and I think it's good to point out. I mean, I know we're always chasing those engagement metrics, we're always chasing those KPIs, but we're also here to connect with people. So if we can do something that's gonna, help their experience, even if we don't see, some kind of performance boost, I personally think that's worth it. So debunked. Panelists. Whoops.
I'm surprised because I know that if we've got like a webinar on demand and we put a screenshot with a carrot, that always helps improve engagement. So I'm surprised because I thought that the content tags would maybe not have the magnitude of improvement, but I really thought they would improve a little. So I'm surprised by that, but I'm glad that you kept them since you felt that it was helpful and it didn't depress response. I think that was smart.
Yeah, agreed. Email is inherently like a balance between creating a familiar experience so that for the most part with clear expectations, but then still layering enough surprise to create kind of that moments of friction where we want people to engage. And the content tags seem like a great way of just helping create a familiar experience so people don't have to spend as much brain power parsing the content format, and more they can spend more of their all of our limited attention spans on clicking on the buttons that we have.
Yeah, great point. Well, I say you still have permission to use these even if they're not going to help your KPIs. And I'm the host, so what I say goes. Let's move on to myth 7. This is an exciting one. So there's this myth going around out there that audiences prefer content written by humans to AI. Oh my gosh, who can imagine? So we did some tests. This is a really interesting one. It's 2024. You knew we had to do an AI topic. Jana, what do you think? What are your thoughts on this?
I think I'm going to be a little bit controversial here, but considering that the majority of people out there skim read emails versus reading everything word for word, I don't know if audiences will immediately see the difference between human written content versus AI written content. I would like to believe that audiences and the human race will be able to tell the difference, and we are not seeing the demise of humans and the rise of AI and Terminator is going to come get us soon. But let's see what the numbers say.
Well, let's see indeed, audience. 7th and final poll, which will be more successful? Those of you who are human, please vote. Those of you who are AIs, I guess you can vote. I won't know the difference. And looks like there will be no difference up to a early lead. Get those results or those responses in, please. Jean, what do you think?
I've got to go with human written being team human.
All right. Chelsea and Sean.
On this one, we are going to split our answers again. I'm torn between it not really making a difference versus people can maybe notice. And so they want more of the human written. So I'm going to go with human.
And I'm gonna go with no difference because I think AI copy has gotten so advanced and so good that it's hard to tell what's the difference between AI and
Yeah,
Mhm.
that seems to be the way the audience is going. We got 53% saying no difference. You have a few seconds to get your responses in. Logan and Kelsey, what do you think?
Kelsey.
I'd love to see humans prevail. But you know what? I'm gonna say AI. I think I'm gonna go AI. I'm gonna say the robots.
Okay. All right. It's AI.
Woo-hoo.
Oof. Apparent, yeah, Jana, I don't know.
Yeah,
What's your reaction?
AI is better than at connecting with humans than humans are, which is kind of concerning. But hey, maybe it just means we're a population of skimmers versus email readers, which is the reason I want to lean on.
Yeah. This was a really interesting test. You can see the results on the slide. On top are the AI written CTR and CTOR, and on bottom are the human written. So AI, kind of dominated here. But there is a big caveat to this test. There's an asterisk. We kind of, I'm not going to say we whiffed it, but I think it's inconclusive for a reason that I'll share. So we did a tone test. And we didn't quite realize until after we'd done it that if we test AI versus human and we have those be different in terms of what the content is, that's kind of not a pure A/B test. Blame it on the creative, helping to design some of the tests. I was really interested to see the tone difference. So we had AI do a more sort of professional tone, and then we had the human written one was a little more approachable, conversational, and that's what happened. So actually, no, wait, no, it's not debunked. It's not settled. I'm going to call it. No. Instead, we have a bonus round. Right. No, really, audiences prefer human content to AI. We tested it again. Litmus tested as well. So Jana, tell us a little bit about what we did here. And there won't be a poll for this one. This is just a bonus for you.
Yeah, so we tested creating an entire email, not just the email copy, but some of the imagery as well. And we used AI to generate it all. And we sent out to our audience, our Litmus Weekly audience, which is a very engaged audience. And they're usually the first ones to reply to us when there is something wrong with our emails and when there is something right with our emails. So yes, we were hoping they would at least notice.
I'm still here. Sorry for the brief technical difficulties. Okay, let's see what happened. No winner.
Nope.
Tell us about it, Jana.
No winner at all. I was surprised. People just didn't notice. People just carried on with their days, with their Litmus Weeklies, clicking through the content and reading it. And I think this could be because we, on the content side of things, maybe we're a little bit too good at shepherding the AI generated content and tailoring it to the newsletter, to our tone of voice. I think we took the copy, we reviewed it, we made sure it aligned to our brand. So in that respect, it didn't really work. But then also at the other side of it, we wanted to see if this would save us time, because obviously we're trying to churn out newsletters, content, all sorts of things. It didn't really save us any time either, because we have such a strong brand tone of voice. We know exactly how we write to it, and then we were just spending so much time training this AI to understand like how we use that. So yeah, it didn't really pan out exactly how we expected it to.
Okay. Well, panelists, I'm interested in your answers here. There won't be a debunking here. I think it's, too early, really. I think maybe what we need is an entire AI marketing debunked episode. I don't know. We'll think about it. Panelists, what do you think about this AI issue? I'd love to hear your thoughts in closing.
Well, originally I did think it was going to be human, but now that I'm thinking about it more, I think naturally for humans, we're kind of wordy and we like to kind of maybe over explain things a little bit. And the experience I've had with using AI to write things is it really simplifies it down into what actually needs to be stated. And since people kind of just, skim through their emails, I think that's probably why it might be doing better.
Yeah, great thoughts. Kelsey, I think you were trying to speak as well. What are you thinking?
Well, I was just gonna say, I think the real question is how many robots clicked to influence these numbers. Yeah,
That's
so
the meta question there. Yeah.
but no, I think there's so many variables, like you were saying, the tone of voice, the type of content. If you engineer it to be short or brief or more in depth, or I think if you're really good, chat engineer, like you can spit out some really great content. But I think also I don't Logan and I were talking about this, and I don't know like that many people who solely rely on, AI written content. It's a lot of hybrid, using AI to kind of get the ball rolling, and then adding in some human elements, adding in some of your own insights and things like that. And that's what we've seen works the best, is kind of using it to help with your workflow, but not solely relying on it.
That's the moneymaker right there, Kelsey. Yeah, that's the thing we've been finding increasingly ourselves, is that it's a workflow tool. Don't rely on it to, beginning to end, create content for you. Any other closing thoughts from the panel before we wrap it up?
Thanks. This was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was. We've been answering your questions as you've been putting them in the chat. We don't have time for like a formal Q&A. Get them in if you still have some, and we'll be answering them in the chat as we go. Now, our most important thing, we have panelist info and promotions here. You'll be able to click these links when we send out the deck. Thank you, Jean Jennings. Thank you, Logan. Thank you, Kelsey. Thank you, Chelsea and Sean. Thank you, Jana, my amazing co-host. And we have tabulated the results. Our judges have been busily tabulating the results, and we have our debunked brand champion from among the contestants. I didn't get a drum roll sound effect here, so just imagine it for me. The winner is Kelsey and Logan. Here they are, Mr. and Mrs.
I said I wouldn't do this. Kelsey, hold my hand.
I
Thank
love
you
it.
so much for participating. Congratulations to our champions. Again, on behalf of myself, Acton, Litmus, Jana Mystery, and our entire panel, thank you so much for debunking with us today. Remember, keep an eye on your email boxes because we'll have results of the audience prize as well as other fun goodies for you in the follow-up. Special thanks, audio clips used under Creative Commons license, originals by Old Edgar and Nick Playmo Stories, Adobe Recording, IT, and Literary Free Sound. Thanks, everybody. This has been Debunked.
Woohoo.